Hi, I'm Alexa. This is Kane, and we are going to talk about something I have wanted to for a while now, herd mentality. So, what is this, and how does it affect us? And once we know about it, what can we do about it? As you know, I will drop some links in the description. A lot of my videos have different links, different sources. This one is very well mined. Herd mentality, also known as mob mentality or crowd mentality, is a psychological phenomenon that significantly impacts human behavior. It occurs when individuals adopt the beliefs, behaviors, or attitudes of the majority in a group, often at the expense of their own judgment or individuality. This stuff can show up in so many ways in our lives, and it doesn't have to be just when you're in a group, although they might have. I think there should be distinctions in what is going on when you're in a big crowd. I was introduced to mob mentality in school when we were studying things like the civil rights movement, and there were pictures and videos of crowds that were doing things that afterwards people would say, I don't even know why we did that. That's not me. I don't know why I didn't stop it. I don't know why I didn't intervene. One of the most shocking images that stood with me was a young, very maybe late teen, early, very, very early 20s, Black woman lay across an old white man, I believe it was, who was being attacked by other people on what would have been the Black woman's quote unquote side of this political argument. And she was the only one who did. But because she did it and it was so shocking, it actually shocked other people out of their mob mentality, where they'd got caught up in this, well, other people are doing it, and this energy and this attitude. And so it snapped people out of it and actually saved the man on the ground's life. That was one of the first ones where it was like a single voice in the midst of a crowd can stop people and shock them out of this mob mentality. So to me, that was a very powerful image, and I'm sure to many others, which is why it's taught in schools. At least it was when I was a kid. But that was one of the first places I was introduced to this mob mentality. Now, I was introduced to it as you're in a crowd and your emotions get high as a crowd and you feed off each other and you have to be in that crowd, and then something happens and like the match is lit, right? The fuse goes and everyone kind of goes along with it. Then there is a movie called The Boondock Saints, and it starts with a story of a Boston woman being stabbed in broad daylight and people not helping. And one of the things we don't want to be is seen as the outlier. So that young girl in the picture that I just described, she was an outlier. Most of us do not want to do that. We get scared of being that, of being different, of being outside of the norm, because then people could turn on us too. So this story told in the Boondock Saints at the beginning of it is really people didn't step up to help this person because they didn't want to be next, or they think someone else is going to, so they're waiting for someone else to do it first, right? Now, one of the things I've learned since then is that this actually shows up in our daily lives as well. So I have spent a lot of my years trying to lose weight, and a lot of my friends have not had to. They've never really had the degree of weight to lose that I have had to lose. And I have had so many people, when they're trying to be nice, do something like buy me a cake because you've been doing so good lately, you deserve it. It came up in whatever I was reading at the time that this is actually a form of herd mentality, peer pressure, that because I was changing, I was essentially I was the outlier who was now about to change the rules of our friendship and our group friendship, right? And they didn't like that. And even if they couldn't admit to themselves or understand why they were doing it because it was a threat in their amygdala, which isn't their rational mind, that the rules were being changed, and no, we need the status quo and we need to all be in the same roles forever. So that kind of got me really interested in looking at this and really seeing where I was doing this or allowing this in my life and not challenging it or missing out on things I wanted to do because I was too scared or whatever. I'm not the expert on this. There's much more out there to read about it. But I do think that when you realize how much of our lives we spend trying to conform and how little the feared consequences of nonconformity occur, it kind of does free you up to do some stuff, to take some risks, to go out there and do some things you've wanted to do your whole life, and they're not going to hurt other people. So conformity. Oh, let's see. Social pressure can sometimes lead us to change our behavior, a process known as conformity. This is also from Very Well Mind. So when we add these together, where else can we see this? Okay, so some of the examples that the Very Well Mind article on herd mentality give us are stock market bubbles where investors see a stock going up, so they're like, oh, everyone's buying it, I want in at the bottom, and they don't stop to do their own sort of like, what is it, analysis of, is that stock actually any good? Is it overpriced at this point? All of that kind of stuff. Then housing bubble also is an example. Fashion trends, you see people wear stuff that's just, why? It's not comfortable. It's not practical. And people wear it anyway because it's fashionable. I think I can mark myself safe from that. I tend to wear what I like, and my likes might change a little bit over time. I think I've become a little more conservative in my dress, but not really. Like, I don't think it's conforming to what I'm being told I should wear. Hi. Oh, you think I'm conforming? What is this? You want to be in on the conversation? Hi. If the trends are all pastel colors, I know I'm wearing pastel right now, but it's a sun shirt, not, I'd normally wear a dark blue. Or if it's floral, I don't care. I'm not wearing it really. I have very, very few things that have flowers on them. I'm not going to wear certain types of cuts. Like an A-line dress is nice, but some of these other things, they're just not going. I'm just not interested in it. Social media, viral content, definitely. Creating echo chambers. Political movements. People, literally, we give ourselves labels. And in America, especially with the two-party system, their political self, that is how they see themselves. It becomes who they are. It's not even about what it actually means to be either of the two main parties anymore. It's just in their brain, it's what they've told themselves they are. So an attack on that, even if it's not an attack on even what they believe, even if what they believe doesn't even align with that in the greater world anymore, they can't give up that self-perception. I had a struggle with this when I did become an American. I had been so strongly, I'm English my whole life, that nobody else could take it away from me. When I did start thinking about applying for American citizenship, it was such this weird feeling of an attack on myself by myself. Like, why am I doing this to myself when I'm English and I that's who I am? And it's a really, really tough thing to realize that a label, a word that you've assigned to yourself, just a word, not even that necessarily what other people think that word means, but what you personally think that word means, what you've assigned to yourself, it might not be quite accurate anymore. I was born and raised in England. I am English, but I am an American now too. I have been here for more of my life than I lived in England, substantially more. I enjoy it here. I like where I live. Like, there's so many benefits to it, right? I'm not attacking myself by giving myself these new good things. Panic buying. This is a good thing. I mean, good example of herd mentality. Everyone thinks, oh, there's going to be no toilet paper. So then they make that come true by buying too much and hoarding it. And now you can't find any in the stores. If people had not panic bought as much as they had, everyone would have been able to just go buy some when they needed it. So, it's interesting, these things that come out of this. So there are a few ways that this social pressure is used to help us conform. So from OpenLearn, I had found a course on actually problem solving and decision making, collaborative problem solving for community safety. But I went to one of the sections, and it's social pressures affecting our decision making. This link will be in the description as well. So a few of these types of social pressure, the most broadly, there are three kinds: coercion, imitation, and conformity. So coercion is really holding something over someone else, right? Like either a threat, and it might not be a person doing, but in our mind we think there's a threat, like if I don't do this I'm going to be hurt. That's a coercion. And if I do this or if I don't do this, they'll help me, whichever way they want. If they help me, then I'll be better off, right? That's a coercion tactic. Imitation, this is something I would say everyone at some point in their life has probably fallen victim to. When we want someone to like us, we might sort of act the way we think they want us to act or would like us to act, or the way that will make them like us more. And that can lead us to do stuff that isn't true to ourselves. And people can tell when you're not being true to yourself. So it's actually sort of self-defeating, in my opinion, but we all do it. And then conformity. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be the person who is next in line. So the story of the lady getting stabbed in broad daylight, no one helped. No one wanted to be the next victim, right? And if you blend into the crowd, how are they going to pick you, right? If you're in a crowd and there's someone there who's going to do harm, and you're just a faceless part of the crowd, how are they going to pick you out? But if you bring attention to yourself, they're going to pick on you. So conformity is a way of blending in. And by blending in, you stay a little bit more safe. So I think this topic is really fascinating. I think that I've covered a real wide range of things. Now, the article I will share does have a way to recognize the signs of herd mentality. So they give, They give 4 different things. So they give conformity, when people are changing their beliefs or behaviors to align with the majority so that they don't stand out. Fear of missing out. I call Kane Mr. FOMO, because he genuinely cannot stand if I go in another room for more than 2 minutes. He has to come and see what I'm doing. And he really does fear that he's missing out on something in the other room. So he's Mr. FOMO. Group polarization. So this is probably something people have heard about in the news, the radicalization of certain groups. This is the more you hang out with a certain crowd, the more it becomes an echo chamber, and the more radical your views might become to try and continue to push the envelope and fit in with that crowd and seek approval from someone in a position of power that you want approval from. It plays out in a lot of groups. There's no one political side, there's no one country, there's no one anything. There's groups across all spectrums across the world. This polarization definitely occurs. And then suppression of dissent. If you are in a group and people are like, oh no, don't bring that up, it'll just cause trouble, that is a way of getting you to conform. So I don't know if anyone else a lot of people do, but anyone on this channel looks at like the Reddit stories, am I the asshole stories mainly. And the line is always like, my mom, my brother, my spouse, whatever it is, they told me to be the bigger person and let it go. That is such a really like herd mentality, group peer pressure thing to say. Sometimes if you don't address bad behavior, if you don't stick to your boundaries, it's just going to make things worse down the line. Being the bigger person is often, not always, but often, the phrase used to allow bad behavior because it's quote unquote easier to allow it than to actually address your part in having let that bad behavior continue. So in a situation where one sibling is being told by their parent, the parent doesn't want to admit that they had any part in the other sibling's bad behavior. And unfortunately they did, whether they meant to or not. I think it's this irony that every single parent is going to give something to their kids where they will be like, I'm never doing that, I'm going to do the opposite. And you can sort of see that as you go through generations, what different generations have done because they saw their parents do something and they don't want to do that. And there's whole like research things out there on the trends of the different generations and how those things became different from their parents because of what their parents did. It's really fascinating. Here I go again down a rabbit hole, but that's the thing. When a lot of the times with our families, we do try to conform. We try to keep the peace. We're like, well, that's family, and family just sucks it up and gets on with it. We don't hurt family or whatever, right? Then you get to a certain point where you're with your friends and you're old enough to start making your own opinions and your own way forwards and your own decisions. And you can find groups of other people who are like, yeah, that was bad when we were kids. I agree. I feel the same. Why don't we move it forwards in this way? And that could be online. It could be from research. It could be whatever. But this whole thing that really got to me was herd mentality doesn't have to be in person in a group. And I think that I was taught as a child that the mob mentality and this then bigger sort of concept of herd mentality, it's not. It's everywhere. It's in all of our interactions. And so how can we use it? How can we avoid it? So herd mentality can have some positive effects. Now, that sounds a little weird after everything I've said, but herd mentality of we have to follow the law and we have to follow the rules. Like, how many of you have been standing in line with a bunch of other people and you're all like, okay, yeah, this line is long, but we're here together. We all move forwards one step together. Like, and then someone comes and cuts in. That annoys us, right? We have agreed as a society that we are going to stand in line and take our turn when it comes, and the cutting in is bad. And the herd mentality can help us in that we do have rules and we do have order and we do have those sort of common experiences because we all have agreed to do that. And herd mentality can make that person go to the back of the line. when you know what your roles are in a group, so this can be any type of team, whether it's sports, whether it's in a family group, whether it's at work, when you all know your roles, you can all get really good at your role. And so when people do change the rules of each role, that's where, it's not discrepancy. It's not just discomfort, I think is the word, right? There's some discomfort there when stuff changes. But we can make very quick decisions if we know that there is an established rule base behind those decisions in order to make the decisions. We don't have to think about it. We're like, we know based on what we do, this is what the decision will be. So there are some things that can be good. So, I need to stop saying so. I say it too often. Now I've said that, people are going to notice it. I apologize. If you do start noticing it, or if you've noticed it before, I'm working on it. How to avoid following the crowd. So this one is to cultivate self-awareness. Make sure you know what you like. Make sure you know what you believe. Make sure you know where your line in the sand is morally, right? Ethically. Make sure you know that let's say you want conflicting things, which one's more important? So, gosh, now I've noticed it. If you are looking to make a really big purchase and you've been saving your money and someone's trying to pressure you to go to like a temporary concert or show or something, you have to be able to say, no, this other thing is more important and I put so much time and effort into it and I want to keep working towards that. I don't want to waste the money I've saved, right? And set myself back. So know what you are, who you are, your principles, beliefs, etc. Embrace critical thinking. It is a sign of progress to be able to say, I made a decision, I learned new information, and now I'm going to change my mind. We all do it. We all do that throughout our lives, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean we were wrong in our first decision. Like, I think I've given the example of you have a favorite burger joint, and then you try a new restaurant and you decide that their burger's better. That's as simple as it comes, right? You get new information, you make a new decision. No big deal. Seek diverse perspectives. If you've only ever been to one burger place, you cannot tell people that's the best burger. You don't know it. You have to go to a bunch of burger places, tons of burger places, and find out how they all taste before you make your decision. And then be comfortable with uncertainty. This one is tough. We don't know everything. We don't need to know everything. We're never going to know everything. Can we be okay with some uncertainty? I go back and forth on something like a vacation where half the time I want to plan it to the minute, but I know if I do that and something goes wrong, it's going to make me very, very uncomfortable that I'm not on schedule, that some of the stuff I've planned is not happening. And so I sort of force myself to say, whatever happens, happens. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. And by doing that and by embracing some of that uncertainty, it actually helps me become more comfortable with the uncertainty. There was an event today and I did not decide if I was going to go to it until about 10 minutes before. And all day yesterday, I heard about it yesterday. So I was deciding this morning, I was like, if I go, whatever. I don't know how many people are going to be there. If there's too many, if there's not enough, I can decide when I get there if I want to stay. I don't know where I'm going to go when I'm there. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's okay. I'm going to take each step at a time. So I literally, as I was driving there, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. If I get there and I don't feel right, I'm just going to keep driving. I'm not even going to park. I'm just going to keep driving. And that uncertainty and being able to embrace that uncertainty, I came home and I felt a lot better. I felt proud of myself, pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I do think that I haven't had to go into too many uncomfortable situations recently. And it's a skill. You have to keep practicing it so you get used to it. And then it develops your confidence. And it does. The more you practice going into uncertain situations or uncomfortable situations, using your voice when you might not always use it in the past, you build your confidence. And that is exactly why I've been doing these videos, was to build my own speaking skills. Not sure this is my best example of a video, but this is such an important topic, such a great topic. I hope that it has given you something to think about. Definitely check out the links. What I've talked about is a fraction of what that information that is out there, especially on even just the 3 links I'll share with you. But I hope it's given you an intro, a little bit of an intro. And if it does spark your interest to learn more, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, for me and this little sleepy, you can barely see him, but he's right here. He's very cute and sweet, and he's laying on my arm. For me and Kane, Mr. FOMO himself, if you made it this far, thank you. We will see you on the next one. Be kind to yourself.